Today, we'll go beyond the headlines to present an in-depth, narrative-driven case study on South Africa's energy challenges and the real potential for hydrogen solutions. Recent discussion with some friends in the country highlighted ongoing struggles with grid reliability, the economic fallout from frequent outages, and the urgent need for bold, practical answers. We'll keep the politics neutral and focus on technology, economics, and regional strategies that make hydrogen a compelling pathway to energy security and grid resilience. The first segment today is South Africa's grid reliability crisis, the catalyst for hydrogen discussion. South Africa's electricity sector has faced critical challenges for nearly 2 decades, with the last 5 years marked by acute strain. Eskom, the state-owned power utility, supplies over 80% of the nation's electricity and relies mostly on aging coal plants that account for roughly 80% of generation and over 40% of the country's greenhouse gas emissions. This over-reliance on coal and chronic underinvestment in maintenance have caused rolling blackouts known locally as load shedding, leading to economic losses, disruptive supply chains, and even civil unrest. Incidents in 2025 underscore the gravity of the situation, with Eskom implementing Stage 6 load shedding after breakdowns at Boegoebaai and Camden power stations, meaning South Africans experienced scheduled outages for several hours a day. The economic impact extends to manufacturing, mining, and the service sector, with small businesses particularly exposed due to the high cost of diesel backup. Energy access is also deeply unequal. Wealthiest households consume much more electricity and have greater means to secure alternatives. Attempts to add renewables while gaining momentum have lagged behind demand and cannot yet deliver enough grid stabilizing capacity. For most South Africans, daily life means adapting to grid disruptions and searching for resilient solutions. Segment 2 is why hydrogen is positioned as a game changer. So against this backdrop, hydrogen has emerged as a multi-purpose, scalable solution to support grid resilience and energy security. South Africa's enormous potential for solar, which is 2,800 kilowatt hours per square meter per year in the North Cape, and wind, which is 35 to 45% capacity factors along the coast, allows for low-cost renewably powered electrolyzers that can create green hydrogen with some of the most competitive economics worldwide. Leading studies forecast costs approaching $1.60 per kilogram by 2030, making South Africa a potential export powerhouse for ammonia, methanol, and clean fuels, and lowering the entry barrier for domestic grid support. Hydrogen's technical appeal derives from its role as a long-duration energy carrier, where batteries and intermittent renewables can struggle to meet peak demand or support multi-day operation. Hydrogen provides reliable backup, energy storage, and grid balancing for millions. It mitigates weather-driven outages, addresses transmission bottlenecks, and enables mobile power for distributed manufacturing clusters and critical infrastructure across the country. South Africa's mineral wealth adds to the feasibility, holding around 80% of the world's platinum group metals essential for fuel cell and electrolyzer production. Coupled with existing port infrastructure at Saldanha Bay, Richards Bay, and Cook, and a deep industrial base, the country can anchor a value chain extending from manufacturing to grid deployment. And this leads me to segment 3, regional feasibility, where hydrogen can deliver the biggest impact. Several regions in South Africa stand out for their hydrogen potential and grid impact. The Northern Cape is set to become the national epicenter for hydrogen thanks to its unmatched solar and wind resources, vast land, and proximity to export terminals. Here, the multi-gigawatt renewable projects like Boegoebaai are combining solar, wind, and electrolysis at scale, promising millions of tons of hydrogen production annually starting in 2028, with costs rivaling any global competitor. Moving to the Western and Eastern Cape, cities like Cape Town, Saldanha, and Mossel Bay offer established industrial zones and port access ideal for hydrogen integration. Their location enables not only grid support, but also the buildup of refueling and export infrastructure. In the economic heartland, Johannesburg and Gauteng province are vital for hydrogen valleys, or clusters linking heavy industry, transport, and power. These regions benefit from dense demand and skilled workforce, and hydrogen solutions here can support urban transit, municipal grid stabilization, and commercial operations. Industrial corridors from Durban to Richards Bay will similarly benefit from hydrogen as both a regional backup and future-oriented fuel for maritime manufacturing and logistics. Meanwhile, Limpopo and Mogalakwena are poised to leverage their mining activity for electrolyzer and fuel cell production, supporting distributed hydrogen deployments and mobile power. Hydrogen investments can create up to 30,000 skilled jobs each year, add billions to GDP, and bring innovation across grid storage, mobile fueling, and industrial decarbonization. South Africa's Hydrogen Society Roadmap and Just Energy Transition Plan set ambitious but pragmatic goals. By 2030, the aim is to deploy 10 gigawatts of electrolyzer capacity, produce 500,000 tons of green hydrogen annually, and launch hundreds of hydrogen buses and trucks. Generous tax deductions ensure rapid investment, while partnerships with the EU through H2 Global and regional industrial clusters support both export and domestic market growth. The transition is paced to support local manufacturing of fuel cells and electrolyzers, leverage platinum group metals and mining expertise. Ports like Kuka and Saldanha Bay are being adapted for hydrogen shipment, and new corridors align transmission upgrades with hydrogen deployment, helping to relieve bottlenecks and enhance grid flexibility. Community inclusion, workforce reskilling, and technology localization are emphasized to ensure hydrogen's benefits reach urban and rural populations alike. The strategy is built to complement, not just replace, existing renewables, using hydrogen to overcome grid intermittency, decarbonize industry, and secure export revenue. Despite its promise, South Africa's hydrogen transformation is not without hurdles. Aging infrastructure, insufficient financing, and water scarcity for electrolysis create practical challenges. Grid congestion, especially in high-demand regions, requires careful planning and accelerated investment in transmission development. With over 14,500 kilometers of lines and 133,000 megavolt amperes of new transformer capacity scheduled for the next decade. Integrating hydrogen requires smart regional phasing, favoring dense urban centers, strategic ports, and zones with industrial demand, while ensuring that water requirements, land use, and community priorities are met. International partnerships and 950 million euros in recent grid expansion financing highlight growing support, but local buy-in and cost parity remain essential. Ultimately, hydrogen's role is to help South Africa weather its persistent grid crisis, fortify its power supply, and transition from a coal-dependent emitter to a renewable-powered, resilient economy. Execution, not just vision, will define the outcome. South Africa's energy challenges offer lessons for the world. Hydrogen stands out for its technical flexibility, resource compatibility, and economic impact, especially when targeted to the regions and sectors that need resilience most. There's no overnight solution, but for South Africans confronting grid risks, the hydrogen pathway is a real, actionable, and increasingly urgent. All right, that's it for me, everyone. If you have a second, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a good review on whatever platform it is that you listen to. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, whatever it is. That would be a tremendous help to the show. And as always, if you ever have any feedback, you're welcome to email me directly at info@thehydrogenpodcast.com. So until next time, keep your eyes up and honor one another.